We all know the same few moves. Push in, pull out, shrug left, right, arc, and if we're getting really fancy, jib or arc vertically. Cool. Now what? Whoa, 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 slow down there. Sure, after a while, they all look the same. But with just a few basic editing techniques, those same moves can suddenly feel so much more dynamic. So today, we're gonna learn how to elevate your slider shots with just some small, simple edits in your favorite editing software. Each technique gets more impressive as they go, but they're all surprisingly easy to pull off. Let's kick off with probably the easiest thing you can do, but also one of the most effective, pairing a slider move with a jump cut. A hard cut was literally the first edit I ever learned, and because of that, I brushed it off as too basic. But then I'd watch these crazy transitions in music videos or movies and realized, wait, that's just a hard cut done in a clever way. And when the motion lines up, that's what we call a match cut. So I thought instead of just relying on what's happening in the frame, what if we let the slider movement itself be the thing that matches? What I'll do is set 2 points on my motorized slider so it can repeat the exact same move every single time. Then between each take, I'll just switch something up. It could be swapping a lens, changing what your subject is doing, or showing the frustration of not knowing what to wear. Now in the edit, you just stack your clips on top of each other and line them up so the motion matches. The easiest way I've found is setting the blending mode of the top clip to difference and nudging your clip forward and backwards until it perfectly lines up. Set it back to normal when you're happy and repeat this for each take. I only had to do this step twice because I had 3 takes in total. From there, all you have to do is make a hard cut between your takes. Hit play, and suddenly, that same slider shot doesn't feel basic anymore. It's a sequence that elevates your story while being visually striking. My favorite way of using this is showing a passage of time. And if you want to push it further, try stacking even more takes and cutting quicker. Now, as a solo creator, I only have 2 hands, which is a bit of a problem. Because once I hit record, there's only so much I can do at once. Luckily, my motorized slider can move automatically, but I can't be sprinting around set, flipping on lights if I want to create a dramatic lighting effect. So instead, I learned to cheat it. I set my start and end points so the slider repeats the same move every time. But for each take, I'll turn on a different light. First the background to set the scene, then maybe a kicker to add some mystery, and finally the key light to reveal everything. When you stack those shots in the edit like we did in the previous technique and fade in each shot, it feels like the scene is slowly being revealed layer by layer. It's perfect if you want to build suspense or to slowly introduce a product. But there's no rule saying that it has to be smooth. We can make hard cuts and throw in some light switch sound effects to make it feel deliberate. Now, I'm a fan of more aggressive visuals, so let's crank it up. Cut between the lights faster and you end up with a strobe effect. I like to do this with an edge light from various angles to build tension until the final reveal lands like a punch. So far, we've looked into simple ways to reveal new information in your scene, but what if we want something that feels almost impossible? For the longest time, I thought you needed insane VFX skills to pull off these seamless transitions. Turns out, it just takes a little masking. Here's how I do it. I'll let my slider repeat the same move and shoot 2 takes. First, with the object, in this case objects, already in the scene while something passes in front of it. The second take is a clean plate with the objects removed, and nothing crossing in front. In my timeline, I stack the 2 shots and align their timing like before. Then I mask out the objects using the clean plate. I animate the mask so it looks like the object is being revealed behind it. On its own, it's a basic masking trick, but once you pair it with a smooth slider motion, it feels like an impressive magic trick. And if you want more simple, high-impact techniques that I regularly use, along with breakdowns of videos like the one you're watching right now, check out my community, Frame by Frame. And a huge thank you to this month's Kaizen members. Now, you've probably noticed by now that the camera move needs to be repeatable and dead-on accurate for each of these techniques to even work. That's why I was excited when iFootage sent me their Shark Slider Nano 2, who are also sponsoring this video. As a solo creator, having a motorized slider has been my cheat code for smooth cinematic shots. With the Nano 2, I literally move the camera to where I want it to be, lock in the keyframes on the touchscreen, set the speed, and hit start. Now, it'll nail the movement perfectly every single time. It's also compatible with DJI gimbals. Just slide it into the adapter and you unlock complex multi-axis movements that you only see on high-budget shoots. And don't worry if you don't have a Ronin, the Nano 2 is now compatible with the Osmo Pocket 3. So now you have the same motion control feature if you're a creator or vlogger.
Why is this a trend?
This slider lets me set up to 8 keyframes. This will be important for the next technique, by the way. Although I can power the slider with an NPF battery, you can actually power your slider, stabilizer, and camera all together at once through a single USB port. All right, we've got a shot for our next technique. Check out the Nano 2 with a link below, and thank you iFootage for sponsoring this video. You've definitely seen the cloning effect before in some of your favorite films, music videos, and creators. At its core, it's a simple masking trick. But when you add in a smooth camera movement, it stops feeling like a YouTube effect and starts looking straight out of a Hollywood movie. I start by setting up a few keyframes on the Nano 2, giving me time to clearly see what each version of me is doing. Then for every take, I move to a different spot in my room. Once all the shots are lined up in my timeline like the previous techniques, I draw a mask around my clone. Now, I'll need to make sure that I keyframe the mask so it follows my clone. That way, it looks like they stay in the scene throughout the entire shot. Repeat this for every shot, and suddenly, you look like you're the most productive you've ever been. To make the shot feel impossible, have one of your clones walk across the frame into a new spot. This will require a little more patience with masking or rotor brushing in After Effects, but it's that extra detail that takes the shot from a fun trick to truly cinematic. I saved the most stylish technique for last. It's got that surreal vibe where time feels like it's speeding up, perfect for showing a character's state of mind or just making the motion feel big. How I pull it off is by setting my slider to arc smoothly around the subject. For the second take, I use the same slider movement, but 4 times slower to get from the start to end point. Then, I drop the shutter speed on my camera way down to like 1/8. Just make sure to adjust the aperture or ISO to compensate for the exposure change. When I roll camera, I make sure there's a ton of motion happening around the subject. Once both of the shots are in your timeline, I speed up the slow shutter shot to 400% because remember, we made the slider movement 4 times slower. That way, it matches the same timing as the other shot when I line it up. Set the blending mode to lighten so only the bright parts show up over the other shot. I like to stack a few different takes of the slow shutter shot so more is happening in the scene. And just like that, a simple slider move turns into a surreal effect that can show chaos, stress, or just to make your visuals stand out. Your job as a creator doesn't end when you hit record. Even the smallest edit can transform your shots into a story. So tell me in the comments which one of these you'll try first.